When the house of the old local widow Lydia is going up in flames, everybody watching is expecting the firefighters to put a quick halt to this when they arrive, and they intend to do so at first. But when neighbor Tim, who had just rescued Lydia out of the house, tells them what's inside, they all put down their fire hoses. It is better if this house burns down to the ground. Why did they decide to let the house burn down? Why was Lydia so desperate to get back inside, and what had Tim seen inside of the mysterious house? But before we start our story, smash the like button. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. Lydia is a 75-year-old widow living alone in a house which can definitely be described as a mansion. Her closest neighbors did not really know Lydia at all. They felt like something was off about her. They didn't exactly know what it was. She and her late husband Peter had built this house together and were one of the first in the now blossoming neighborhood. They built the mansion from the ground up together. This made her very proud. This also meant that the house had a lot of sentimental value, or did it? The land and the house had a lot of monetary value, and many people had offered Lydia a lot of money for it over the years since it was built in a pristine neighborhood. However, Lydia would never sell it. She would not even consider selling it, even if it meant it would make her rich. Many people assumed that it was mostly because of the memories that she had in the house. She had lived in the house all those years together with her husband after all. But maybe there was something else going on, something strange. She had been alone ever since her husband of 42 years passed away 4 years ago. This event had changed Lydia. Nobody quite knew why or what changed her, but she definitely didn't seem like herself any longer. What was going on? For the most part, she had stopped caring about life, not taking care of herself or the house. From the outside, neighbors could see unwashed windows and cracked glass. The house was in a state of decay, and people living around Lydia started to become very worried. Her children and grandkids hadn't come to visit in years, and Lydia had almost completely stopped coming outside on her own. She had occasionally been seen to do some groceries. Lydia did not even talk to anyone or ignore the people who actually cared about her. This whole situation was strange to some of Lydia's long-term neighbors, as they had known Lydia as a fun and outgoing woman when Peter was still alive. Something must have happened besides the passing of Peter that could break a strong woman like Lydia. Neighbors had started to speculate what might be going on in the house, as some weird things had started happening. Some of the kids in the neighborhood didn't dare to go close to the house. They had become very scared of Lydia, especially during the night. Some days all the lights would be turned on all throughout the night. Strange smells could sometimes be picked up when windows opened up, and it would not be the first time that neighbors were awoken by loud screaming coming from the house. People had tried peeking through the windows, but all the curtains were always closed, so nobody could know for sure what was going on in there. Some were even thinking about involving the authorities. They wanted to keep the neighborhood safe. And this may not be as far-fetched as it seems. Neighbors always thought there was something off about Peter. Rumors and speculations ranged from Lydia just not caring anymore and wanting privacy to her hiding illegal items her husband had left her. Peter had done a lot of traveling when he was still alive, mainly to South America and Africa. He never told much about these trips. He was a very private person. The only person he really spoke to was Lydia, and she did not tell anyone anything either. But his neighbors had noticed he always left with one old suitcase and came back with two. They had always wondered what Peter took back with him. But after he passed, people mostly forgot about it, until Lydia started acting strange. She always wore clothes that could have been her pajamas and didn't look anybody in the eyes. The smell coming off her also confirmed that she probably wasn't taking proper care of herself anymore. Lydia would only leave the house about every 2 weeks to get groceries or to dry her clothes. Many locals had tried to strike up a conversation with her or come to the door, but all of them were always met with the same response: silence and ignoring. There had to be something Lydia did not want anyone to know. People were worried, but there seemed to be nothing they could do to help her. Lydia's closest neighbor, Tim, had even tried contacting Lydia's children to ask for help or advice, but they told her that they wanted nothing to do with their mother anymore. One night, Tim awoke to the smell of smoke Instinctively, he jumped out of bed and looked around. When he glanced out the window, he saw flames consuming his neighbor Lydia's house. Without hesitation, Tim rushed to help. The old door to Lydia's house gave way easily as Tim kicked it open. Smoke filled the air, but he managed to find the stairs and hurried upstairs, suspecting Lydia might still be in her bedroom. Reaching the hallway, Tim spotted a closed door and assumed it was her room. Summoning his courage, he opened it and saw Lydia. What he found gave him the scare of his life, but he knew he had to act fast. The house was rapidly deteriorating as the fire intensified, with the roof nearly engulfed by the time firefighters arrived. Tim had just managed to pull Lydia to safety, but to everyone's astonishment, she was trying to break free, screaming to be let back inside. Exhausted and coughing, Tim approached a firefighter and whispered something urgent in his ear. Whatever Tim said caused the firefighter's expression to change drastically. The team sprang into action, working with heightened urgency to put out the fire. Lydia's behavior remained a mystery, but Tim's brave actions ensured her survival. His quick thinking and selflessness saved her life amidst a dire and dangerous situation. Max instructed his team to hold off using fire hoses unless the fire threatened neighboring homes. They were unsure how to handle Lydia's house and consulted her. Lydia begged them not to enter, warning of something horrifying inside, but Max insisted. The firemen found nothing unusual in the cluttered downstairs area, but Lydia pleaded with Max not to let anyone go upstairs. Ignoring her, Max sent James to investigate. Reaching the top of the stairs, James saw flames everywhere. While deciding whether to proceed, he noticed black smoke pouring from one room, a sign of something more sinister. Despite hesitation among the team, James pushed open the door. Inside, he discovered something alarming. Shaken, he radioed Max to evacuate the area immediately and call the police. Max acted swiftly, ordering the evacuation of neighbors and summoning assistance. The police questioned Lydia, who admitted the house had been hiding something for over a year. A specialized biohazard team was called in to handle the danger. Upon entering the room, the team discovered toxic black mold that had spread extensively. They quickly exited, warning that the mold's toxic air could harm anyone nearby. To prevent further spread, the neighborhood was evacuated, and drastic measures were considered for containment. The firemen and police worked tirelessly to ensure everyone's safety, realizing the severity of the situation. The black mold, left unchecked, posed a threat to countless lives, but the team's prompt action averted disaster. Though Lydia's house was beyond saving, the neighborhood's safety was preserved thanks to the bravery and quick decisions of Max and his team. After speaking to Lydia, they decided it was best to let the house burn down to ensure the mold was properly destroyed. Extinguishing the fire would have caused the steam to spread far and wide. The community rallied around Lydia, offering her housing and starting a crowdfunding campaign to help. Her son, Stephen, returned immediately upon hearing the news, paying to rebuild the house on the same land. But before this, Lydia sought closure. She visited the site where she and her husband had lived for 70 years. Everything meaningful had burned, but her memories remained vivid. While there, Lydia found her husband's wedding ring and a framed photo, the only items to survive the fire. These discoveries brought her peace, but then the police called with news. The investigation revealed the fire was intentional. Fingerprints led them to a known pyromaniac who had also planned other fires. Lydia was relieved he was arrested and wouldn't harm anyone else. Surprisingly, she found herself grateful for the fire, as it brought her closer to Stephen. Stephen decided to live with Lydia to care for her. She attended community gatherings, built new friendships, and found herself happier than ever. The fire, though tragic, had reshaped her life for the better. Stephen, feeling responsible for her loss, ensured she lived in comfort. Over time, Stephen married Sarah, who became pregnant. Lydia enjoyed this new chapter in her life, but her happiness was short-lived. She was diagnosed with aggressive cancer, leaving her with little time. Admitted to a premium hospital, the focus was on making her comfortable. Stephen, heartbroken, cherished every remaining moment with his mother. Lydia's passing was marked by a simple funeral, just as she wished. Stephen used his last funds to honor her memory. Later, when reading her will, Stephen and Sarah discovered Lydia had left everything for her granddaughter's future. Stephen named his daughter Lydia, ensuring her grandmother's legacy would live on. Despite the loss, Stephen took solace in the love and life they shared, knowing his mother's memory would endure.